Okie dokie. Thank you all again for attending our 4th annual New to Hooch Information Night. Again, I'm Ms. Blunt, one of the counselors here, and proud 19th year at Chattahoochee. Let's see. So just during this virtual meeting, we would appreciate it if you would answer questions or ask questions in the chat about the current slide. We will be covering a lot of information, but if you'll keep the questions to the current slide, that will help the counselors that are running the chat, and then they can answer you in real time. And just remember that your questions are viewable by other attendees. So if you have, a sensitive question or a private question, that would be something that you would want to direct to your student school counselor via email. We will continue the Q&A at the end of the presentation. And then, of course, we are recording this presentation and we will be posting it on the counseling website within a few days for anyone who is not able to watch live. This is just our agenda generally for tonight. Student resources, grad requirements, credits, grading recovery policies, supporting academic success, how to best communicate with Chattahoochee and all the different people here, general roadmap to high school, and then just additional resources. So Infinite Campus is going to be your main source of information of your students' grades in their classes. It is live. Anytime a teacher makes an update, you can immediately see it on your side as a parent. Student can immediately see it on their side as well. We definitely recommend that you download the app for your cell phone and your student cell phone as well. I've had students sitting in my office and they get an alert on their phone and a teacher just graded something and they're like, oh my gosh, I just got a 90 on the quiz. I'm so excited. So yeah, it's good to have those kind of like those live or up to the minute updates. All progress reports are posted electronically in Infinite Campus, 4.5 week, 9 and 13.5 week progress reports, as well as the first semester report card. All those are just viewable electronically. None of them are mailed home. The only piece of paper that you'll ever receive home about grades, official documentation of grades, is the second semester report card, which of course includes first semester as well. Students access Infinite Campus through their ClassLink account. They automatically have a ClassLink account that is linked to, they access it through, here we go. I'm sorry, this is the slide about parent information. We'll get to the students in a second. Set up your parent portal. Would definitely encourage you to do this. These are specific directions on how you can access, you can activate your account. You do have to make sure you enter the email you used when you registered your student. You'll be prompted to answer a couple questions and then you'll receive an activation code via email. Please go ahead and get this set up. Better to get it set up on the front end rather than lagging behind and, not getting it set up or activated until later in the semester when maybe things are a little bit more critical. In Infinite Campus as a parent or guardian, there are some automated notifications that you can choose the settings for. In the bottom right corner, that's a screenshot of one of my parents sent this to me. They mainly want to be notified if the student receives a grade that's less than a 70 or the class average ends up being less than a 70. So, you as a parent know your kid and or your student and know the best way to help them. Some students are able to monitor things on their own, but we definitely encourage you to monitor their students' assignment completion, quiz test scores, grades, all that kind of stuff until you feel confident they can handle it on their own. And this is just one of the tools that you can use for this. And then you can also see when attendance is updated, and that includes tardies to class or skipping class, that kind of stuff. Under the grades tab in Infinite Campus, you can see current averages for your student's class in just one spot. And if you click on an individual course title, you'll be able to see the breakdown of the class average. So you can see here in the top yellow, the course title is AP World History. Semester 1 average is always what you're going to be looking at. That's kind of like the most up-to-date information about what their class grade is. The 4.5, 9, and 13 week progress, those are static. So those will be those grades at that point in time. But the semester 1 average for this semester and then semester 2, that will be the most up-to-date information at that point in time when you're logging in. Of course, attendance, hopefully at this point in time, only barely into the third week of school. Hopefully all of your kids' attendance looks like this, save for, an illness or something that they had to stay home for. But you can see a running tally at the bottom of how many total absences and tardies they've had for the semester, and then also, by class, how many absences or tardies. And then finally, the documents tab in Infinite Campus is really helpful. A lot of families ask for copy of a student's transcript for, say, like the good student discount once the student is added to the parent's driving their auto insurance, or proof of school enrollment to submit for the student to get their driver's license. There is no need, there's no requirement for any additional form to be collected from Chattahoochee or anywhere else. The Georgia DDS website even says an unofficial high school transcript is perfectly fine. Okay, so ClassLink, as I referenced before for kids, this is their landing page for basically everything. Infinite Campus, Canvas, their Outlook, which is their Fulton County email address. They log in a pretty standard format. Student ID number is their username. It's also referred to sometimes as the lunch number. And then their birthday in 8-digit format. And then students do have the option to change their password. And that's where they can access basically anything they need for Fulton County. Canvas is where the Chattahoochee and Fulton virtual classes are housed. So this is an app within ClassLink where students will be doing a lot of uploading of work. They might be doing some work for their classes. They can see some of their grades and stuff in there, and Canvas does automatically communicate with Infinite Campus. But this is a good place for students to be able to see their course calendar, their grades on a particular assignment. Maybe there's comments that the teachers made, messages from their teachers. This also has a parent observer account. So definitely this is another one we would strongly encourage you to get logged into and set up as soon as possible. So, in case you see something in Infinite Campus that says, a student has a 0 on an assignment, you can quickly hop into Canvas and get some more details about that. When was that assignment from? What was the assignment? That kind of stuff. Okay, just a review of graduation requirements, grading, recovery policy, academic success. These graduation requirements are the same across the state of Georgia. There are some flexibility within some of the categories. So generally, students must earn a total of 23 credits, 4 English, 4 math, 4 science, 3 total in social studies. Generally, if students were with us all 4 years of high school, they would take a half a credit of Gov in 9th grade, a full credit of world history in 10th, full credit of U.S. history in 11th, and then a half a credit of economics in 12th grade. So that's where you get the 3 total credits. Students do have to have a half credit each of health and personal fitness, and I'll talk about the personal fitness waiver in a minute. 3 total credits in the world language, fine arts, and career tech areas. That can be any combination of the 3 credits. It could be all in world language, it could be all in fine arts, it could be all in career tech. But for future college purposes, most 4-year colleges do require 2 credits of the same world language. So while it's completely possible and often done for a student to graduate from high school with no world language, we like to keep students' doors open as long as possible. So we do encourage the world language if possible. Personal fitness waiver is available for students. They have to complete 1 season of a sport, any level. It could be 9th grade, JV, or varsity, 1 season of marching band. They could complete 1 semester of certain classes in the PE subject area. So weight training or general PE or rec games. And that started in the 23-24 school year. Or complete 1 season of a non-GHSA sport. So that could be like our students who participate on our fencing team. That is technically not a GHSA sport. Students who play competitive sports outside of school. So there are some rules around the waiver. There has to be, a a set start and end date. There has to be a record of participation. There has to be, a record of a practice schedule, that kind of thing. But all of those options are ways to waive taking personal fitness. If you waive personal fitness, you don't earn a half a credit. You just waive that requirement of that class. And instead of having to take the half credit of personal fitness, you then take an additional half credit of a general elective. In Fulton County uses a 100-point scale, not a 4.0 scale. I have a slide a little bit later about the GPA calculation. A is 90 and above, B is 80 to 89, C 70 to 79. There are no D's by state rule in Georgia, and then an F is anything below a 70. Students who take honors, advanced placement, or dual enrollment, also known as college courses, you earn an additional 7 points as long as you pass those courses. And then each high school class earns a half credit per semester with a couple exceptions. Prior credits or grades are transferred onto the Fulton County transcript as they were posted on the prior school or district's transcript. So like if your student is transferred from a different state, a different district, different country, and it just shows a letter grade, of course, we will reference that school's or that district's grading scale for that midpoint range. And if there isn't one provided on official documentation from that prior district, then we have a conversion scale that's specified by Fulton County Board policy. Students do have to have 5 credits to be promoted to 10th grade, 11 to be promoted to 11th, 17 to be promoted to 12th, and then 23 total to graduate. And these credits have to be earned by August 1st of when the school year starts. And the last note about athletic eligibility, students for GHSA athletic eligibility, students have to be on track for promotion, so they can't be listed in a lower grade than what they should be based on their cohort when they started high school. And they must have passed 5 out of 6 classes in the term prior to the sport. So for example, if a student only has 4.5 credits and they're supposed to be in 10th grade and they want to play a fall sport, they are automatically ineligible because they do not have the 5.0 credits. And then of course, a max of 2 credits earned in summer school can be used towards eligibility. Some of you, might have seen a different version of a transcript from your students' prior schools. Our transcript, this is an example of one from one of our students a couple years ago. Took off all the identifying information. So the transcript is a record of all grades earned, and it could be high school credits earned in middle school also. The student's cumulative weighted numeric average. Weighted means, maybe there's some honors classes that they've taken or AP classes or college classes, all the courses taken and all the credit earned. So this is a permanent record. This is what would go with your student to college when they apply in the future. All grades earned, and this is very, very important because a lot of students still to this day are not sure about this. All grades earned, both passed and failed and or retaken, are recorded. So for example, student who didn't pass second semester of geometry last year, if they retook it in the summer and got an A, awesome, great for them. But that failing grade is still going to be on the transcript, so both grades are there. And then, like I said before, an unofficial copy of the transcript is available to view and download in Infinite Campus. Just a note about the high school GPA, it is completely cumulative. So it's all grades earned in classes you took for high school credit, even classes taken in middle school. A big regret that most students will share with us, if a student is ever sharing regrets with us, I wish I had taken my classes and my grades more seriously earlier in high school. That's a really common regret shared with us by actually second semester 9th graders and 10th graders. Like, oh my gosh, I wish I had realized my high school GPA if I didn't take if I didn't take high school classes in middle school. My GPA started in first semester of 9th grade. I wish I had cared more. I wish I had given more attention to my grades. And then keep in mind that a student's numeric GPA on their transcript does not convert directly to the 4.0 scale. You have to convert each individual grade on the transcript to the 4.0 scale, then average all of them together to determine your GPA. So let me see if I can go backwards. Here we go. So this student in question here this student has an 85.68 GPA. Not a bad GPA. A lot of people might think, oh, 85, okay, that's a 3.0 because that's a B. Well, looking back at the student's grades, they have a C in anatomy, they have a C in chemistry, they have a C in French 2, they have a C in French 2. So it's, and then comparing that to the rest of their grades, we've got, that's 4 academic C's throughout this point in time when this transcript was produced. Academic A's, we've got 1 A in Gov, we've got an A in Human Geography, and an A in World History, and that's it. So this student, even though they have an 85 numeric GPA, they have less than a 3.0 less than a 3.0 GPA on the 4.0 scale because they have more C's than they do B's. So just something to keep in mind. The other example I like to give is you could have 2 kids, both with a straight 90.00 numeric average. Student A could have half 89s and half 91s. Of course, half 89s and half 91s averages out to perfectly 90.0. Student B could have all 90s. That also is going to average out to 90.0. But student A is going to have a 3.5 because we have a half A's and half B's. And student B is going to have a 4.0 because we have all A's, all 90s. So just something to keep in mind. And then, of course, for students who intend to apply to college in the future, many colleges only include academic GPAs. So that's why I was looking just at the English, the math, the science, the social studies, the world language on that previous screen. Many colleges are not going to include the band, the art, the study skills, the general PE, those type classes. Fulton County grading policy is definitely widely available on the Fulton County website, but the easy breakdown of this is major assignments, 55% of the total class average, minors, 35%, practices, 10%. Final exams, even though sometimes they use the phrase final exam, it is not a final exam counts as just one of the major assignments for the semester. It is not at 20%, with one exception I'll tell you in a second. It is not a separate grading category. While it might be cumulative in nature as far as the material that's covered, that's actually determined by each of the PLCs, the professional learning communities in each high school. PLC means basically the group of teachers that plan together. So like all teachers for world history, they're all going to determine if their final exam is going to be cumulative or not. But with the exception of an EOC, and I'll get to that in the next slide, there is not a separate grading category or even higher weight. And then for seniors, they can exempt second semester final exams if they have an 85 or higher course average right at the end of the semester. The recovery policy, so every student has an opportunity to recover their grade on every single major assignment or assessment if they scored below 75. So the caveats are on a recovery assignment or assessment, they can only earn a maximum of 75. If they got a 60 on the original assignment or the assessment, did recovery and got a 50, whichever is the higher grade stands. So there's never any risk of earning a lower grade if a student attempts recovery. It is possible that teachers would require students to complete any missing assignments at that time, attend a help session or two, do some remediation activities prior to doing recovery. And the biggest piece is it must be completed prior to the date of the next major assignment or assessment. So, if a student doesn't do as well as they wanted on a test, then they have basically until the next major assignment or assessment, whether it's a project or a test, to complete recovery. The EOC tests, that's a state requirement in 4 subjects, algebra, biology, Lit Comp 2, which is now the new name for 10th grade Lit, and U.S. History. EOCs are required by state rule to count as 20% of the student's second semester grade. So in those classes, the second semester grade weighting is adjusted as you see below. 10% is still the practice category. Majors are now 40 and minors are now 30, but that's only in second semester of those 4 classes. EOCs are given in late April, early May each school year. The state determines that testing window. And then anytime a student retakes a second semester of any of those 4 courses, they must also retake the EOC. So even if a student, say, passed the EOC in algebra when they took it second semester of 9th grade, if they ended up failing second semester of the course because of the overall average, when they retake that second semester of the course, then they retake the EOC again. As we're talking about grades and supporting our kids with, trying to maintain good grades in their classes and everything, here's just some good practices for academic success. Definitely get organized. Every kid is different. I'm different than Miss Turner, who's doing our chat, and Miss Jones, who's running our chat, and Mr. Camp, who's one of our new counselors, who is just watching and learning here. Everyone is different, so find out what works for you and use it. I know that I rely on an electronic calendar, that I have alerts set up to notify me about things. Some people really like visuals, so like a calendar on the wall. So whatever works for your kid, help them get that worked out. Definitely start each semester strong. It's so much easier to keep the momentum going than way later in the semester try to play catch up with a lot of missing assignments. Please do not miss out on turning in late work or taking advantage of recovery. Literally anything is better than a 0 on assignment. There should be no zeros. I would rather a kid have a 30% or 40% or 50% as a late grade than a 0. Definitely never ever hurts to attempt recovery as well. Students really should study in a well-lit space, few distractions, probably not laying on their stomach on their bed with the TV on in the background and their phone next to them and the radio on and that kind of stuff. Just whatever works best for your kid. Try to keep the distractions low if possible. And definitely, if possible, spread out your studying. So short sessions of studying over time are going to be a lot more effective than a huge cram session the night before a test. I would recommend you as parents consider setting the expectation for your student to charge their phones, maybe in your kitchen, or in the parent bedroom at night. It's kind of crazy the number of kids and parents we hear say that they were up till 2 o'clock in the morning texting or playing on social media or Snapchatting with their friends, and a lot of times they're doing it without their parents knowing it, which I mean, developmentally, that's a normal teenage behavior, but we'd like to reduce that if possible. Kids need way more sleep than we think. Kids need a good solid 8 hours of sleep a night. So whatever you can do as parents to help them accomplish that would be awesome. We have a lot of different ways for students to get help in class. Definitely ask questions. Every teacher in the building has chat time available. So if a kid just needs to ask a couple questions about last night's homework or something along those lines, they can ask for a pass from that teacher to go see them during chat time the following day. A lot of teachers will have pre-scheduled help sessions or are more than willing to set up a session for the student to come in privately. Study groups are great. A lot of times studying with other kids helps students figure out new ways of thinking about things, creative ways to memorize information, whether it's acronyms, that kind of stuff. Our academic hub is run by our graduation coach. It's in room D109. It's available during every single one of our lunch periods. We have a lot of students who go in there, almost every single day. They'll take the first half of their lunch hour to eat and hang out with their friends. And then the last half, they'll ask to go to the academic hub. They will be released from the cafeteria, go to the academic hub, and they are expected to bring study materials or work to do. It's not just a hangout area, but it's a great quiet space. Ms. Shofady has, tutors available to set up with students if that's what your student needs. And then we do also have a list of private tutors in the area who have given us their contact info. Of course, this is a lengthy hyperlink, but I can put that tutor link in the chat. Actually, Ms. Turner, would you mind looking that up on the website and dropping it in the chat? And like I said previously, this presentation will be available and published on the counseling website as well. The one caveat I'll say about the private tutors, we do not endorse any specific tutor for any reason. We have done no vetting. It is fully up to the family to determine, how they want to vet those people, and that kind of stuff. It's just people in the area who have given us their information. Okay, attendance. Obviously be at school every day when possible. But of course, there's going to be absences, excused absences here and there. There might be, a kid gets sick, we have a fever, there's a medical appointment, there's a dentist appointment. Fortunately, sometimes there's, deaths in the family or the extended family. All communication about attendance needs to go directly through our attendance office. We ask that parents or guardians email directly to chatthsattendance@fultonschools.org, or you can do the old school way and handwrite a note and sign it and send it in to the attendance office via your student. I would definitely say it is fine for, an extended absence or illness to include us as counselors, just so we're in the loop. But a lot of times new families try to send that information directly to us, and that we just end up being a middleman. So the easiest is to send it directly to the attendance email. If you do have an absence that is planned, in advance, whether it's, you're requesting a pre-approved absence for a family trip, or you've got a wedding of an extended family member that you're going to, I would, definitely recommend trying to do your quote makeup work ahead of time as possible. It's just a lot to do if you have a planned absence, to also be working on your current work and also your makeup work. And when possible, try not to miss the critical days. The first and last few weeks of each semester, right before and after holiday breaks, those are just kind of critical points where, of course, it's a natural break in the calendar, on the school calendar. So those are likely going to be times when teachers are giving the last test of the semester, that kind of thing. Also, this is very, very, very important. The school calendar, school year calendar determined by Fulton County is posted on the county website 1 to 2 years ahead of time. So please, please, please reference that when making your travel or extracurricular plans. Students are not, for any reason, permitted to take their final exams early. So, and we have kids that travel back to their home countries, or go visit a relative in a different country, or go to a family wedding, or that kind of stuff, right during final exams every semester. And unfortunately, we have to tell them what's going to happen is you have to request pre-approval from the principal. You'll temporarily have a 0 on the exams that you miss, and then you'll take them at a future date. Then once you take those exams, then your class grades will be updated. But just think of how much time it might be until the student is able to take those exams. Even just during winter break, if you miss an exam on December 15th and you can't take that exam until our first day, one of our first days back at school, or maybe even that Saturday after school starts, that's a good possibly 3 weeks. And that's unfortunately just time in which the student can forget the information, or, become a little bit out of practice of their studying habits. So when possible, please, please, please make sure your kids are here. We love for our kids to be connected in any way possible. There's a slew of ways that students can get connected. Our social worker calls Chattahoochee Woodstock, because there's just so many things. Everyone loves each other. You can always find your niche. So whether it's clubs, athletics, performing arts, getting involved in, one of the clubs that does volunteer work, whatever it is. Club Day will be coming up on September 5th. It'll be during all lunch periods in the gym. Definitely encourage your students to get involved in, a club or two. Please don't feel the need to join, 10 or 12 clubs. That's too many. But, pick a couple that they're passionate about and might want to, climb the ranks in the next couple of years to get into a leadership position, something that they're passionate about, giving back to the community. We have 25 sports here, including esports. Unfortunately, esports does not qualify for the personal fitness waiver, but the rest of the physical sports do. And then you can find all information at hoochathletics.com. And then we strongly encourage all parents or guardians to join the PTO, which is the parent-teacher organization, just to get involved in the school and give back to our community. Okay, communicating with Chattahoochee, in addition to communicating with the attendance office if your student happens to be out sick or is going to be out, planned absence. We've got a number of ways that we communicate with our families. We try to post as much as we can on Facebook, on Twitter. I don't really like calling it X. That feels weird, but it's Twitter. At Hooch Counselors and at Hooch Happenings is the main school account. And then, of course, Instagram, Hooch Counselors, Hooch Happenings. All of those are ways that we kind of push out some short little bits of information. A lot of communication is done via email. So when we're sharing more detailed information, obviously y'all all got this information about it joining this meeting that we're in right now from the Hooch Happenings email blast that goes out every Friday. Keep an eye on that. That's where a lot of the information is going to be coming out from. So we definitely encourage you to monitor the email accounts you listed when you registered your student. If something urgent comes up at school, like if your student starts not feeling well and has a fever, you're going to get a phone call. No one's going to be emailing you saying, hey, your kid's not feeling well. Only if for some reason they've tried to call and left messages and trying to get in touch with you another way. But that's not going to be, an email is not going to be your initial contact about that. Chatcougar.com, it's a really great website for all the things Hooch related. If you need to reach out to your student's teacher or teachers, email is best for initial communication as no teachers have phones in their classrooms. Your student's teacher names are going to be listed in Infinite Campus under their schedule. And then all teacher email addresses can be found under the staff tab on chatcougar.com, all listed alphabetically. You are always welcome to request a phone conference with a teacher. Just know that their availability might be limited due to teaching responsibilities, other than, their planning period and or their lunch. And sometimes their lunch might even be taken up by, planning meetings with other teachers. So if you need a phone conference with a teacher, that is fine. Just reach out by email initially. And then, of course, if your student is struggling in multiple classes and you've already, done that initial contact with the teachers, you're definitely welcome to reach out to your student's assigned school counselor, and we can schedule a parent-teacher conference, to see if there's something going on across the board. These are all the lovely people that are in the counseling department. We have 6 counselors. You see them at the top listed by our section of the alphabet. So from Ms. Andrea Turner, Ms. Johnson's our department chair, Ms. Turner. We have 2 Turners, so we call them L Turner and A Turner. So they're separated in the alphabet, so they're not right back to back. Me, Ms. Blunt, Mr. Camp, and Ms. Jones. And then towards the bottom of the screen, there's a variety of other people that work in our office. Ms. McClung is our school social worker. Dr. Lee is our new 504 chair. Ms. Shofady is our MTSS support specialist. Also, we call her our graduation coach. Ms. King and Ms. Navis are our bilingual community liaisons. Ms. Scott is our professional assistant. Ms. Movia is who you would be talking to or your kids would be talking to if you're either registering at Chattahoochee or potentially if you're moving or something and you're withdrawing or your student is trying to request records maybe for college applications. And then Ms. Spinuzzi, even though she's not within the walls of the counseling suite, she is right outside our front door and she's the clinic assistant. We encourage students to make appointments with us by coming to the counseling office. Each of us has a QR code on our front desk. Using that system, students choose a day or time using the system. They enter a personal or a non-FCSTU email address in that process. The FCSTU email addresses automatically created by Fulton County, unfortunately, block any communication outside of the system. So that's why they need to enter a personal email address. And then the automated confirmation email they receive, that serves as the pass they will show their teacher in order to leave class to come here for their 15-minute appointment. Parents or guardians that want to talk about something, we do ask that you either call or email us. And all of our contact information is available on our website. We do encourage parents and students to email us anytime with questions. I mean, sometimes kids don't need a full 15-minute appointment. They just have a really quick question. Please email us. That is completely normal. And I think the rest of the counselors would agree with this, that the older kids get in high school, the more they typically email us. So we might not get as many emails from 9th and 10th graders, but once they get to be 11th and 12th graders, there's a lot of kids we're in email communication with. And then a Chattahoochee specific, I'll call it a feature, but an offering that we have for you is we have a counselor of the day. So every day of the week for the entire school year, one of the counselors has their calendar completely clear, so that, and if any kid comes in upset or has an emergency or has a concern about the safety of another student or whatever it is, there's pretty immediately someone that is available to talk to them, check in with them, and just know that if there's anything that you need to be aware of, whether it's, personal safety or the safety of someone else, you would be notified of it. If it's just normal high school stuff, something with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a friend or a relationship issue, it might not be, parent notification, but just know we would share it with you if there was something that you needed to know. Here are some of our upcoming events. We do grade level presentations throughout the year and that we do this to make sure that we get the same information out to all students in the same grade level, and then also just to kind of streamline our process. It's just a more efficient way of communicating general information. So our senior advisement meeting will be this Thursday during chat time. All seniors will come to the auditorium. We have a new advisement bell schedule this year, which extends chat time by maybe 10 minutes. So it gives us about 35 minutes to give some really good information to groups of students. Senior information night, which will be, again, a virtual meeting on Teams just like this one, next Thursday, August 28th. And we encourage both parents and students to join that one. It's going to go a little bit more in depth with some of the senior specific information than what we will be sharing with the seniors this Thursday during chat time. Between September 2nd and 12th, we're going to be offering senior check-in meetings, and those can be booked by the student. We welcome the parents to attend if they wish to online. All students will attend in person, and parents who wish to attend will need to be online, just so that we can offer as many time spots as possible. We will be putting out the links for students to book those meetings as part of our senior information night next Thursday. Then coming up for the rest of the grade levels, junior information night will be Thursday, October 9th at 5:30 on Teams. We will begin junior advisement meetings, which is when we meet individually with every single one of our juniors and their parents. Those are meetings that we welcome parents to come in person. Those will be middle of October through December, potentially early January as well. There's always some stragglers we have to call in early January. And then we'll have a 9th and 10th grade information night in January, mid-January, and then dual enrollment information night will be beginning of February. And like I said previously, we do a lot of our meetings on Teams, partially to make it easier for y'all as parents. You get to hear a live presenter, but not have to battle traffic. And if it's hard to leave work early, you can listen on your way home. And then, of course, the ease of us being able to record these meetings so that parents who are not available at the time of the meeting, they can hear the exact same thing. So the roadmap to high school, just kind of briefly go over this. A lot of this once we go through this 9th grade stuff, you'll see it kind of build. We have our grade levels of students complete certain activities in each grade level. So if your student happens to be in 10th grade or higher, we recommend that you look at the items listed for past grade levels and complete any that interest them. Of course, every student 9th through 11th grade is automatically registered for the PSAT in October every year. No additional registration steps have to be taken on the parents' part. School Links is going to be the new college and career searching tool that is coming soon to ClassLink. We are going to be trained by the district on that within the next week or so. So there will be some career searching activities available in there. Of course, like I said before, do your best in your classes. And ninth grade is a good time for students to start keeping a personal record of any extracurricular activities, awards, that kind of stuff. And then the links, these will be posted, these will be available for you to click on once we get this posted on the website in just a couple days. Georgia Futures is kind of, it's an organization that's part of Georgia Student Finance Commission within the state, and they kind of have a standard ninth grade activity page that you can reference. Continuing in 10th grade, a lot of students might consider taking the ASVAB. While it can be used for military recruitment, it is still a good free career exploration tool. Of course, continue to do your best in your classes. There will be a youth science assessment that all of our 10th graders are scheduled to take, typically taken in March. Access will be enabled by the district in the next couple of months. Youth science it's a really cool, it's almost like it's aptitude / personality / career searching / all of that. Kind of helping kids figure out, based on what their passions are and their strengths are, what kind of careers that could be a good fit for them. 11th grade, of course, take the SAT. We encourage students to take the SAT or the ACT at least once by the end of 11th grade. So current 11th graders do not feel pressured to take it right away. By the end of 11th grade is fine. Definitely continue the college career searching activities, maybe continuing to take or consider take the ASVAB, and of course, continuing to do your best in your classes. For students who intend to apply to colleges in first semester of 12th grade, your GPA at the end of 11th grade is what colleges will use when making their decision. Many colleges do ask to see their students' first semester grades, but that is going to be the initial GPA that they see. And then, of course, 12th grade, if a student feels like they want to retake the SAT or ACT, they're welcome to do so. Work to solidify your plans for what you want to do after high school, whether it's submitting applications to scholarships, applications to college, looking into, more depth into other options, whether it's entering the workforce, starting an apprenticeship, enlisting in the military, all that kind of stuff. As far as our scheduling kind of process goes, students generally stay with their current schedules through the end of the school year. However, of course, we do have a process. If students happen to be struggling in an honors or an AP class at the end of first semester, there is always a chance for them to switch into a different level going into the next semester. In January every year, teachers enter course recommendations for the following school year based on a student's performance in the current class. February every school year, we as school counselors meet individually with every single 9th, 10th, and 11th grader to review their course recommendations from their teachers and make adjustments as needed. Our teachers are making recommendations in silos. So your students, say chemistry teacher might be recommending the student for AP chemistry next year, not knowing that they're also being recommended for AP US history and an AP math course and an AP English course. So we want to make sure we do a really good job making sure that our students stay as balanced as possible in their course choices each year. Then late February, we make ourselves available for a couple of weeks for parents and guardians and or students to book individual meetings with us to, go over briefly the planned courses for the next year, that kind of thing. And then there is a period of time that students can still request changes to the following year's courses. We do try to close that down typically, I want to say early March. And then from early March until the first day of school in August, course changes are closed because then our fabulous administration has to work very hard to figure out the master schedule for the following school year. So look at the total number of students that are requesting each class and how many sections of each class and working within the budget that the district has given us and that kind of stuff. If at some point during the school year you feel like you or your student needs additional resources, Summit Counseling is a local mental health provider, and they are a partner with Fulton County. So we actually have a summit counselor on site 2 days a week. If you would like information on how to get in contact with them, please reach out to your student school counselor. We are happy to help you with that. Parents or guardians who would like assistance finding a therapist or, psychiatrist or something outside of school for their counselor, we are always happy to help you make that connection. And then our full-time social worker, she's a great resource, helping families to connect to community resources and supports. And this is just a summary of our very soon upcoming calendar events. So senior information meeting during chat time, that's going to be this Thursday. It's only for students. August 25th, that's next Monday night. That's International Parent Night in the cafeteria. This is one of the ones we do actually face-to-face. So there might be a little bit of overlap of what I've gone over tonight and what Ms. Johnson will go over in International Parent Night. But that night is more dedicated to the differences in the schooling systems in the U.S. versus outside of the country, and how our different systems work. Next Thursday, August 28th, is both the new student breakfast during chat time and also senior parent night, 5:30 p.m. on Teams. You will hear my voice again because I am in charge of that night. And we do encourage you to have your senior students with you and participate in that meeting with you, so y'all can kind of like feed off each other and, oh yeah, that's a good note, make a note, or that's a good idea, or that kind of thing. September 2nd through 12th, that's when we will be offering the senior check-in meetings. And like I said, the link to schedule that meeting will be shared in the senior information presentation. And then the new student group will begin on September 3rd. And students who attend the new student breakfast, they will be given an opportunity to opt in to the new student group. And then here's Miss L. Turner's beautiful flyer. I wish you could see the live version because the little egg and the orange juice, they're little stickers, and there's animation to them. But anyway, this is our flyer for the new student breakfast, 9:45 to 10:35. So students will be released from their second period classes a little bit early so they can come and spend the whole time with us. We'll have icebreaker activities and we'll feed them some yummy food, and they'll get to meet the counselors and the administrators. And now we're at the question. So Miss Turner, Miss Jones, Mr. Camp, and I think I saw Miss A. Turner on here as well. Any questions that y'all are seeing come up in the chat as common questions, or is there anything else that I need to answer verbally?
One is asking, what's the benefit of opting into the new student group?
That's a great question. New student group is not meant to be like, it's not meant to be like a class. This is not, and yes, I just saw this other slide. Yes, the slide deck will be posted online. The new student group, it's meant to be just fun, a fun way to get to know other new students, to get to know us as counselors, to learn things about the school. When I've helped run it before, we've had conversations about, think about your previous school or your school district, and then think about what you know about Chattahoochee so far. How do the two compare as far as just like the culture of this school and the norms and that kind of stuff. So it's definitely fun. It's like I said, it's not meant to be a whole this is how you do study skills type thing. It really is meant to be fun, and I've always had a lot of fun running it with other counselors in the past. So it's usually only 4 sessions long, so it's not it's not going to take a lot of time out of the student school day, and we rotate which period of the day the students have the new student group each week. So and we do it between 1st, 2nd, 6th, and 7th because of course 3, 4, 5 periods are all lunch, and not everyone has the same lunch. But that way, only once in that 4-week period, a student will miss first period. They're not going to miss it 4 times. How to get an unexcused absence approved? That is a good question. I I would reach out directly to the attendance office. If a student already has an unexcused absence posted, it might just be that a lot of times students will turn in a note from home that says they're going to the doctor. I guess the policy is that they do want something directly from the doctor's office. So that might be that might be something that you need to do. Go back to the doctor's office and get a note or an email or something like that. But the attendance office can give you all that information. Anything else? Yes, the recording of the presentation will be posted as well as a PDF of the actual slides. So both of them will be posted in case you want to go back and read or listen. Okay, well, if I'm not seeing any additional questions come through, so I think we're going to close it out. Who do students contact with IT problems? So that would be our IT professionals in room D113. We have 2 IT professionals here all the time. I believe there are directions on the door about when they prefer students to come by. But I do believe that is where they go. I guess depending on what the IT problem is, it might be that they have to, then direct the student to contact, if it's like a password lockout, it might be that the student's directed to then contact someone at the county. But that's definitely the first place. That's the first place I would go if I had something going on with the IT. So I think that's the best first place for students to go as well. Okay, any last questions? Oh, are there study groups? So there's not, we as a school do not organize study groups for the students, but a lot of times I think they kind of form organically within classes. So that would be something I would encourage the student to ask in the class. Maybe once they're getting to know a couple people, they can form their own study groups. As far as an organized time and place to study, we do have the academic hub available for any student to go during lunches each day. And then I see a hand raised, and I feel like I might have set the meeting settings where attendees are not able to use their microphone. Whoever has their hand raised, would you mind typing it in the chat, please? Just waiting for this last question to come through. Okay, the academic hub is yes and no. So the place we call the academic hub is not available before or after school, but because that is actually led by our graduation coach and NTSS specialist, and she does not have extended hours. However, in a few short weeks, we will have we call it the makeup lab, and that will be available after school. Assuming it follows the past year's couple years patterns, it should be available from maybe 3:30 to 5:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We do have that available, if students just want to use that time to have a dedicated place and time to have a quiet study area or get some homework done. We do encourage students to take advantage of the extended day lab or the makeup lab. Say if they've missed a test and they are having trouble coordinating with their teacher a time that's mutually agreeable for them to do that makeup test, that teacher can always leave the test or quiz in the makeup lab and the student can attend that. So yes, as soon as we do rely on district funding for extended day activities for that. So it's usually a little bit delayed. it's usually a little bit delayed. Do you use to get more time for work? I'm for the parent that's asking about what app do you use to get more time for work, I would maybe, that sounds like maybe something I would want you to direct to your student's counselor, so that we can address that more accurately with you and your student specific concern. The new student breakfast group is for those, yes, it is for those new to Fulton County students who, well, actually not really, because we have a number of students who have come to Chattahoochee from Johns Creek High School, from Milton High School, from other schools within Fulton County, both either as a rising ninth grader coming from a middle school that's not our feeder, or older grades. So it is those new to Fulton County and those just new to Chattahoochee, even within the county. Okay. Well, looks like we haven't had a question come in for the last couple minutes, so if it's okay with y'all. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. The school, let's see. Thank you, Ms. Turner. Yeah, the new student breakfast is not for freshmen coming from Taylor Road because they've been in the system. So as far as celebrating academic achievement, we do at the end of the school year offer, we host we call it Evening of Excellence. And what that is, it's a variety of academic awards that our students have earned throughout the year. So we try to keep it smaller. So there's a couple different, for lack of a better word, levels for that. If students who, earn like the Cougar Pride Award in each of their classes, it's like the hardest worker or the most diligent or whatever it is, those are typically recognized within their classrooms. For students who have, the highest grade in a class or in a subject area, or have earned, district level awards, that kind of thing, those are celebrated at Evening of Excellence, which is usually mid-April each year. And the dual enrollment meeting that I mentioned previously on the upcoming calendar, I would say it's not necessary for current ninth graders. The only students that are eligible for dual enrollment as 10th graders are those who have certain SAT or ACT scores, which is basically equivalent to Zell Miller. They have to have a 1200 on the SAT or a 26 on the ACT in order to take academic classes. Really, the only students that take dual enrollment classes as 10th graders are those who are really crazy accelerated in math and that are applying to take Georgia Tech distance math going into 10th grade. They are very few and far between. I don't know the last time that I remember a 10th grader doing dual enrollment outside of that. So I would encourage, and also, of course, with dual enrollment, this is something you'll find out earlier, but it plays into it. The state, no matter what grade your student is in, the state only pays for up to 30 credit hours for dual enrollment. 30 credit hours is essentially 10 college classes. I don't think it makes sense for the average 10th grader to be using up their dual enrollment funding hours that early in high school. I would definitely encourage y'all to wait until 11th grade. Okie dokie. Well, I'm gonna let y'all go. Thank y'all for coming. I really appreciate it. And if you think of any other questions later on, you're welcome to shoot them over to your student school counselor. And hope y'all have a good rest of the night. And I will be closing this recording in just a second. Give us a day or two to get it downloaded and then posted to the counseling website, but it will be there in the next couple of days. And hope y'all have a good night. And it sounds like it's not raining anymore, so hope y'all are staying dry. Thanks, y'all.